Welcome to Woodland Cemetery in Arboretum. This cemetery in Arboretum was started in 1841 because two cemeteries that were downtown had already filled up and they needed a new place to go. Marching orders to come out here were to go someplace where the city would probably not encroach on the cemetery in the future, and obviously that didn't work out very well since the city has grown clear around this cemetery. It started out as 40 acres. The cemetery has expanded in the meantime to 200 plus acres. We have 160 different varieties of trees on the grounds now. This tree we have here is a yellow buckeye. It's a rather large tree. It grows 50 to 90 feet tall. It's native to parts of southeast Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, and North Carolina. It's most abundant in the mountains of Tennessee and North Carolina. The Ohio buckeye, which is very similar to this tree, is smaller and to a medium-sized tree. It grows to 30 to 60 feet. The fruit and young shoots of the yellow buckeye are poisonous to wildlife. The Indians did find a way to roast the seed. They cooked them with stones, came up with a tasty, nutritious flour, and evidently the stones took some of the poisonous out of it. Okay, American sycamore, which is what we have here, is a very large tree. Has white bark. It's known as ghost of the forest by Native Americans. Wherever they were able to find these trees, they knew there would be water because they grow well in wetlands and river bottoms because they require a lot of water to grow as big as they are. This tree is nearly perfect in its structure. It's about 150 feet tall. The branch structure is just about as Mother Nature probably would have required it. The knots you see in the tree are where branches have broken and the tree is healing. So this tree we're looking at is 17 feet in circumference, which comes up to about 5 foot 4 inches in diameter. This tree is black maple. It's a little different than many of the maples we see around the landscapes these days, but it is native to the Midwest. Closely resembles the sugar maple. It is also used for sugar production in sugar maple forests because it grows right along with those trees. It is a medium to tall tree. They grow to be about 70 to 100 feet tall. They can live to be 200 years of age. The wood is used for flooring, furniture, and cabinets, as is many of the maple varieties. Okay, this tree is a larch. It is a deciduous conifer, or a cone-bearing tree that sheds its needles or leaves in the fall. This is one of the largest in Ohio, although this is not the normal look you see of them because this one has broken and split a number of times. You can see the poles here we're using to stand up some of the limbs to keep it from breaking further. There are numerous specimens of the larch around the grounds, and they turn a stunning gold color in the fall. Okay, this is saucer magnolia, sometimes referred to as Chinese magnolia. This hybrid was first noted in a nurseryman's Paris garden in 1820. It has been planted extensively around the world since then for its large, showy pink flowers. It has weak, fragile wood and it breaks easily under snow. It blooms about a week earlier than most other magnolias, and it will bloom sometimes when it's very early in its growth cycle. This is Concolor Fur, or white fir. This is a native to the Rocky Mountains. It's not commonly seen in this area of the country, but there are numerous examples of it around the grounds here. If you break a needle on this, it smells like citrus, kind of like orange and grapefruit. This is bird's nest spruce. It is not usually seen as a tree, but as a medium to large shrub somewhere between 4 and 6 feet tall. This one has been allowed to go unpruned and allowed to grow. This is one of the largest known specimens in the U.S., and as far as we know, there are no others in the area. This is Tricolored Beach. It's an unusual variety of European beech. It has variegated pink leaves, kind of varies between pink and green and tan depending on soil moisture and the heat of the summer. We're beginning to see a number of them in landscapes around the area. It would be a good tree to use more because it's very hardy for this area. This is Oriental Spruce. It's a native to the Himalayan mountains. It's rather unusual in the U.S. It has very little known disease or insect problems and is very hardy and long-lived. It would probably make a good suburban or urban landscape tree, but they're not generally available through garden centers. Here we have two maple trees. They're called Wright Brothers maples. They got that name from the fact that Siebenthaler's Garden Center here in Dayton patented the name Wright Brothers maples and these trees. They actually grow cuttings from a tree that was in the backyard of the Wright Brothers Cycle Shop on West 3rd Street in Dayton. This is a sugar maple. It's part of that family. It's a fast-growing, medium-sized tree, and it turns a brilliant yellow, orange, and red colors in the fall. Ginkgo tree is a conifer. Conifer being that it bears cones. It does bear cones, but it is a broadleaf tree, but it is a conifer, not a needle tree like many conifers. The fruit of the female tree smells very bad when it's on the ground in the fall and they begin to rot. However, the fruit is highly sought after in Chinese culture for cooking and nutrition, and ginkgo biloba is one of the drug compounds that's sold in herbal culture. This tree is sometimes referred to as a living fossil. Leaves have been found fossilized dating back to 270 million years ago. So they have been around us a long time, and even the living examples live to be quite old. The cucumber magnolia is an Ohio native. They grow to be 100 to 150 feet tall and spread quite that wide also. This tree is very good structurally, probably part of the original cemetery planting. It is slightly over 3 feet in diameter. It's one of the largest in Ohio. These trees have large lime green or yellow flowers in spring and giant seed pods with red berries in the fall. The pods smell like cucumbers, which is where the name came from. This is European beech, referred to sometimes as green beech. It's a native of Europe. They were introduced to North America in the late 1600s, and there are about 20 horticultural varieties, some of which have developed naturally. Copper beech, also known as purple beech, appeared as a natural mutant of the European beech as early as the 15th century. It is a large tree. They grow to be about 120 feet tall. It is again a native of Europe. This is Zelkova, sometimes referred to as Japanese elm. It has the peeling bark with gray and cinnamon colors underneath the bark that comes off. It was originally brought to the U.S. as a replacement for the American elm, most of which succumbed to the Dutch elm disease in the early part of the 20th century. Zelkova is a very durable street tree. Over 30% of New York City's trees lining the streets are Zelkova. There are a few specimens of American elm that survived the Dutch elm disease, and they are at this time being used to create hybrid elms so that we can in fact go on with something like an American elm. This is little leaf linden, also called the European linden. It's a native to France. There are two varieties of linden tree that are also around. One is the big leaf linden, which is also a European native, but there's a American linden, also called the basswood. These are two American species important to the forest industry. They're used often in piano soundboards, cabinets, and also. The linden tree in Europe is called the lime tree because the lime fragrance in the oil in the European species, which is used in perfume. This is American sassafras. The differing part about this is that it has 3 different shaped leaves on each tree. If you crumble a leaf and smell it, that is what sassafras tea smells like. So The U.S. government has declared sassafras tea slightly hallucinogenic, so it's illegal to make it these days. This tree has sustained multiple wounds that have healed and sprouted new growth, makes it appear short and squatty. They aren't always this size. This is a very stately example of a green ash, one that has managed to fend off the emerald ash borer who has gone through this area of the country and killed many of the trees. This one hopefully will last many more years. The green ash is a medium-sized tree that grows 60 to 70 feet tall, native to eastern North America. They're hard, heavy wood. They're used for paddles, baseball bats, tennis rackets, and that sort of thing. American holly, which is a native evergreen, seen mostly in the Appalachian areas of the United States. We are not sure where this one came from or how long it's been here. It is rare for one this large and nicely shaped to appear in a landscape setting. English elm is native to Western and Southern Europe and England. It was introduced to the U.S. sometime in the 1800s. It seems to be somewhat more tolerant of Dutch elm disease in the U.S. Okay, this is black ash. It is a U.S. native to the northeastern United States. It's a small to medium-sized tree. They generally grow 30 to 70 feet. This is one of the last examples on the grounds here, so it has fended off the beetle okay. It generally uses dark brown wood. It's heavy, durable, used in cabinets and furniture. This is American elm. It is the last specimen on the Arboretum grounds. It is a native to eastern North America. The Dutch elm disease nearly wiped out this species in the early part of last century, but many planted trees have survived, and in the wild some younger trees have been found. At one time there were many thousands of these scattered around the country and in yards and parks and street lines.
We hope you enjoyed the Let's Talk Trees tour at Woodland Cemetery. Be sure to visit our website at www.woodlandcemetery.org for more exciting tours and information. Feel free to also make a donation to the Woodland Foundation, which makes these tours and events possible.